Hello Doctor Who fans, and welcome to my next Doctor Who review, where today I review The Rescue, starring William Hartnell as the first Doctor. I believe this is the third story of the second season of Doctor Who. So this story is only 2 parts. It's pretty short, so let's just get right to it. So the basic plot of this story is that the Doctor, Ian and Barbara arrive on this planet called Dido, and they find a crashed spaceship where 2 survivors are being held hostage and terrorized by this monster known as Coquillion. One of the survivors is known as Vicky. She is a young female girl, and in the end she ends up being the new companion. She's the replacement for Susan, and she's heavily focused on in this story. And the other guy is known as Bennett, who is unable to walk. Well, or so we think. And the Doctor and Ian get separated from Barbara in the beginning, in the first half of this story, and then they have to make their way to the crashed spaceship. Barbara finds Vicky, and they have to discover who this mysterious Coquillion is. Vicky and Bennett are told that there is a rescue ship coming to get them, but they don't know when. So that's pretty much it. I think the first thing to say is that it's very much contained. It's a much more contained story than the Dalek Invasion of Earth. This is only 2 parts, and the story is very basic, very tight, very short, and yeah, there's not much to it. It's just, basically, this story is only to introduce Vicky to us. Overall, The Rescue, yeah, it's not bad. I would probably give it a pass. It's passable. I don't think this is the greatest story ever written. It's perfectly fine for what it is, but I do feel that it could have been a lot better. I mean, it breezed by very quickly because there's only 2 parts. But the story, I didn't really think much of it. It was fine. It was okay. I really like Vicky, the new companion. I think she is great, and it's really all about her. So this is a pretty good introduction on her part, and I believe the actress is called Maureen O'Brien. Yeah, she's great, and I like her chemistry with the Doctor, Ian and Barbara, which is nice. And the beginning is quite nice and sentimental, because, you know, we're still reflecting on Susan's departure from the previous story, Dalek Invasion of Earth. And I think the set looks really cool. Like I said, this story's more contained. The production values aren't as huge. The scope isn't as huge as the previous story. They've downscaled, which I think was great. It's a much more intimate story, which I like. We go into these underground caves, which is very dark and mysterious. There's some booby traps as well, and the main set, which is like the crashed ship. I mean, it's pretty basic, but for what it is, it's great, and I think there's a lot of attention to detail. Regarding Coquillion, the antagonist, and spoiler alert, the reveal that he was Bennett. That was interesting. I thought it was cool, but I did feel what lets this story down is the ending. The climax of the story is anticlimactic. If you were to say the story was anticlimactic, you would be right. I would agree with you there. I just feel like it was too easy. Like, this story feels a bit rushed. It should have been 3 parts, in my opinion. We needed just one more part. We needed to end the second part on a cliffhanger that Bennett is Coquillion. And then, after that, the third part should be the Doctor's confrontation with him. All of that at the end was very rushed, and it didn't flow for me. It felt very anticlimactic. I was like, oh, well, that's it. And then turns out the people we thought Bennett had killed weren't actually dead, and then we assume that they just kill him. So, and like, oh, okay, well, we never see him again. Bye. So, I thought the resolution of the story could have been a lot better, and it was a bit rushed. I think it's a bit too short. I think the story needed to be another part longer. At least 3 parts, I think, would have been better for the rescue. But you know what? For what it is, it's quite entertaining. I like the performances. I think William Hartnell as the Doctor is very charming in this one. There's a moment when he kind of forgets to himself that Susan is no longer there, and he goes, "Oh yes, I'm sorry, my dear. Oh yes." Oh. Ian and Barbara are great in this story as well. Barbara mistakenly kills. Oh, what's it called? Oh, let me just check that. I can't remember the name of that other. Sandy. That's what it is. Sorry, Sandy. When Barbara kills Sandy, we see quite an emotional reaction from Vicky. Vicky's quite. This is the only story I've seen of her so far. This is quite an emotional character. She's lost her father and pretty much everything, and it's quite nice how they take her into the TARDIS in the end, which is nice. I did like the very end of the story when the TARDIS falls off the cliff, setting us up for the next story, which is the Romans. So that was cool. But man, oh man, the ending lets the story, like the climax of the story, lets it down. There's just a lack of tension. The only moments of tension are when the Doctor and Ian get stuck in the booby traps, when Barbara kills Sandy, and that's it. The rest of it is just them sitting down and talking. There's not much going on. I'm not asking for an epic like Dalek Invasion of Earth. I'm not asking for that. But something a bit more intense could have happened. It felt at times very uneventful and almost kind of pointless. There's a lot of filler as well. It did feel kind of rushed out. But you know what? I don't think it's terrible, and I do like the new companion, Vicky. She's very engaging, and I'm looking forward to seeing her progression as a character in the future, in the oncoming stories that I'm going to watch. And I think she fits in nicely with the gang as a replacement to Susan. Yeah, I mean, the look of Kokillian is great. Obviously now I know it's Bennett. At the time I thought, what the fuck is with the voice? The voice it was just like, oh, it's a guy in a suit, and it turns out the big reveal was that it was a guy in a suit. So, but I mean, the suit is well designed and it does look pretty scary, but they could have done something to make his voice sound a bit more threatening. He could have added a voice box in or something, but you know, other than that, it's a fine story. I don't think I'd watch it again unless I was marathoning all of Hartnell's era. But it wasn't terrible either. There are some good things in there, and introducing the new companion was great. So that's pretty much all I have to say about this one. It's very short, so there's not much to talk about. I'm gonna rate the Rescue a 6 out of 10. Yeah, not the best story in the world, but you know what? It's alright for what it is. So, tune in next time when we look at the Romans. So, until then, thank you guys all for watching, and as always, I'm Mr. TARDIS11. See ya.